Purity in terms of overcoming the perplexity is simply for the sake of purity in terms of knowledge and vision of what is and what is not the path. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Sorry. We have allocated few minutes for the supportive factor session in this weekly mindfulness program. And the reason why we do it is the practice we have is to achieve the highest goal of the teaching of the Buddha. So he has given a path. So when you walk on the path, there will have a lot of hurdles. There will have a lot of doubts. There will have things that you cannot understand. So these things should get clear. So for that, Blessed One has recommended that the practice should be supported. And he has given 5 ways to support it, which is the morality, listening, discussion, tranquility, and insight. So these are the 5 ways you can support. So we are taking this time for listening supportive factor and for the discussion supportive factor, depending on the questions or discussion points that the audience will have. So for the listening supportive factor, we have been discussing a particular sutta called Relay Chariot, which is a very wonderful discussion between 2 giants in the dispensation, namely Venerable Sariputta and Venerable Punnamantaniputta. And it is just not something which is planned, but it is just an idea that occurred in the mind of Venerable Sariputta when he heard that the Blessed One was asking a question from the monk who came to visit him, who came to worship him. He asked whether there is any person in the area where I was born who has these qualities. He has given 10 qualities. The qualities are the modest, the contented person, secluded person, unentangled person, a person with aroused persistence, and person with virtue, person with concentration, person with discernment, person with release, person with knowledge and vision of the release. And not only that, he has those things, he is always, when he's talking, when he is giving a sermon, he's talking only about those 10, nothing else. And not only that, he motivates and he encourages, he arouses the energy of his disciples as well to do the same thing. So when the Blessed One asked this question, all the monks who came to see him said, "Oh yes, Venerable Sir, there is one, and his name is Punna, and who is the son of Mantani." So thereby Mantani Putta. Mantani is the name of the mother. Putta means son. So Punna, Mantani's son, is that particular leader in the area where you were born. Then the Venerable Sariputta said, "Oh, wonderful, if I can say this, meet this person and have a chat with him and tell him that his disciples are very, very satisfied with him, and even the Blessed One is blessing the way that you are preaching, and is very happy as well." So one day, to cut the long story short, one day the Blessed One, not the Blessed One, Venerable Sariputta met Venerable Punnamantaniputta, and he is asking, "Are you living this holy life under the Blessed One?" He says, "Yes." So then he's asking a series of questions, and he's asking for each of them whether he's living the holy life for those things. Whether the first one is asking is, whether you are living the holy life for purity or in terms of virtue, or the purity of the mind, which is concentration, or purity in terms of view, purity in terms of perplexity, purity in terms of knowledge and vision of what is and what is not the path, and purity in terms of the knowledge and vision of the way, and purity in terms of the knowledge and vision itself of the release. And then his answer is for each and every one of them, I'm very sorry, no. Then he's asking, why are you living this holy life? He says, my sole purpose of living the holy life is to completely eradicate the existence. And the words he is using is unbinding through lack of clinging. Anupada parinirvana is the Pali term. Anupada parinirvana means you will attain nibbana in this very life. But although you attain nibbana in this very life, you will have the five aggregates, which is form and the feelings, perception, mental volition, and the consciousness. But after passing away, after the demise, you will not have even that. So that is called Anupada Parinirvana. So he says unbinding through lack of clinging. So that is where, that is what he is targeting. Then he is asking the same question, whether the virtue is total unbinding, or whether the purity in terms of mind is total unbinding, and so on and so forth. Again, he says, no, it is not. You can't take each one of these as total unbinding, but each one of these are contributing to the total unbinding, and it has a hierarchy. Although it is given as a hierarchy, although when you read it, you feel that it has a linear relationship, and once you have completed one, the other is, and that is completely done. It is not so. These things are happening in cyclical pattern, but it has a hierarchy. It has some sort of linear relationship. So it is not that when you do one and the other is and you will not have got to come to that one ever after that. No, it is not the case. And these things go in cyclical pattern, and gradually you get uplifted and you go further. And after some time, when you achieve, maybe certain things you will completely perfect. And after that, there is no need for you to come. So he says, if I give you an example, suppose the king is going from Savatthi, which is a city in India, which was, I think even now it is, no, not now. Savatthi to another city called Saketa, and it's such a long distance, and one cart is not enough. You will have to use 7 carts. So you go from the first cart to one city and take the second, and then and so on and so forth. And then you can't say you came to the last city, which is Saketa, only in the 7th one. It is wrong. You can't say you came, took the whole journey in the first one. That is also wrong. Everyone contributed to the other. So in that manner, he says, purity in terms of virtue is simply for the sake of purity in terms of the mind. Purity in terms of the mind is simply for the sake of purity in terms of view. Purity in terms of view is simply for the sake of purity in terms of overcoming perplexity. Purity in terms of overcoming perplexity is simply for the sake of purity in terms of knowledge and vision of what is and what is not the path. And so on and so forth. He is giving the other two as well. So our topic today is the one I just mentioned, purity in terms of knowledge and vision of the way. What is the way and what is not the way? How you identify what is the correct way. So before coming on to that, if we talk about purity in terms of the knowledge, purity in terms of virtue, and we discussed a few weeks ago there mainly what happens is you get some discipline in the physical and verbal behavior. And when you get that discipline, you will not go to the extreme that you will not kill any animal at all, or you will be 100% verbally shut down. You don't go to such extremes, and you do the things necessary for you to survive, and thereby provide a basis for unwanted vibrations in physical and verbal behavior, and thereby you will be when you get the right mix without going to extreme, then you will have a foundation, you will have a basis for the purity in terms of the mind, purity in terms of concentration. So when you come to the mind, the greatest difficulty or the greatest challenge that you have in the mind is the hindrances. So to overcome the hindrances, you will be given an object and you try to maintain your attention to that object and thereby overcome the hindrances. So it may be either by having your attention completely on the object that is given, maybe walking or sitting, or it may be any hindrances that come, any challenge that come, any disturbance that come, is taken as not a disturbance, but another variable, another variable object for the purpose of maintaining or establishing your mind in. So either way, you overcome the hindrances, and that gives you a pleasure. That gives that pleasure that you have not experienced in the past. We call it non-material pleasure. Now, when you go beyond the challenges in the mind, your mind will be at ease, and as a result, you will have non-material pleasure, and that will lead to the clearance of or the purity of the view. How the purity of view happens is, although you are able to overcome the what you call hindrances, they will not completely go away. They will every now and then hum and disturb, and every now and then hum and test your ability to be mindful. And if you are a person who is more towards concentration biased person and not an insight biased person, then your view will be always that mindfulness is equivalent to the object. If you consider the mindfulness is equivalent to the object, then you are more concentrated biased person. And here you will have to get this mindset corrected, get this view right. So to get the view right, you will have to keep practicing and keep discussing, keep providing your report. So in that manner, you will be able to balance, you will be able to understand what mindfulness is and what concentration is. So in mindfulness, we don't take just one object as the only way we can purify our mind. We know naturally it is not possible, and there will have a lot of other variables that will be affecting your mind. So when those things come, the change in the purity in the view means when those things come, you don't lose your balance. You don't go into hating one and clinging on to the other. You will be not liking one and disliking the other. Whatever that comes your way, you will accept them as another element, another support that has come, another factor for your mindfulness, for establishing mindfulness. So when this happens, your view gradually start changing. You will not always ask, I need only my mind to be with the walking, or I need my mind always to be with the breath. Anything that comes, I will just observe. And if your attention or if your mindset changes like that, and that's a change in the view. Even before Buddha, there were concentration, but they did not have to have that concentration. They always maintain the object. They let the object get subtler, but in that subtlety, they identify themselves and they create happiness in that, because they have come out of a lot of other material and immaterial gross things, and this subtle state they get hang on to, and they identify themselves with that, and therefore for them mindfulness is equivalent to the object. As a result, they just get concentrated and they just suppress the hindrances. Whereas in the inside, you let all the hindrances come out, and then just observe them instead of reacting to them. And in this way, Buddha has changed the view in the practice, and that change in the view is mainly supported by your ability to be aware of the four foundations of mindfulness, whether it's the breath, or whether it is a subtle breath, or whether there is no breath, or whether it is feeling, or whether it is thoughts, or whether it is just a phenomena that is taking place. Those are the four foundations that we have, and you simply maintain your awareness. And to maintain that awareness, you also need to have, at this level, not only just mindfulness, you should have a continuing mindfulness, of which the technical term is clear comprehension. And when you have these things, when you develop mindfulness into clear comprehension, what that gradually does is it creates balancing spiritual faculties. It gives a balance between faith and wisdom. It gives a balance between energy and concentration, and all these balancing acts are done by the middle faculty, which is called mindfulness. When any of the other faculties are trying to be over smart, mindfulness will come and identify. Mindfulness will come and highlight it. Mindfulness will come and show its light over them. Then they will not be able to take charge of over the other faculties. So as a result, mindfulness become more and more established, and your view changes from just concentration to the mindfulness based practice, mindfulness based view, so far as the practice is concerned. So in this, when this happens, so even if your practice is going so well, and some of the people may even develop psychic powers, and they will not identify themselves with those psychic powers. So therefore, there will not have anything that blocks, that hinders mindfulness. So in other words, no matter what happens, you will not identify yourself with the existence of form. You will not be clinging onto the existence of form, maybe gross or maybe subtle. Similar to the feelings, you will not be clinging onto feelings. You will not be clinging onto perception. You will not be clinging into mental volitions and consciousness, etc. But you will be simply aware of them, and you will be simply observing their movements, their contraction and expansion. So in that manner, you completely change your view from solely concentration based to an insight based. And when this happens, although you have changed your view, once in a while, you may be questioned by the previous habits, previous obsessions, which means there will have certain doubts that may be coming. Initially, when the mindfulness comes to the fore, when you start appreciating the mindfulness, sometimes you may feel whether this is the right way to go to Nibbana. Is the Blessed One really enlightened? Are all these people practicing really, achieving anything? And you will start suspecting things. You will start creating unnecessary doubts in your mind. Not that you purposely do it, and that is the strength of our defilements, and that is the cunning nature of our mind. Our mind somehow or other wants something to sit on. But when you practice, when you just keep on observing things, when you don't react, when you don't like and dislike, mind must find a way to create that or reacting nature of them. So therefore, it may create certain doubts, certain perplexities like that. Even there, the beauty of mindfulness is, even when those things are happening, mindfulness will come because it has developed to such a great extent. It will simply observe them as another thought. These are nothing but thoughts. If you start pondering them, then it becomes a huge story. Then it becomes a short story. Then it becomes a novel. Then it becomes a series of movies and series of teledramas. But you don't, mindfulness does not allow that to happen. Mindfulness just shed its light over these stupid questions that come our way. Although I'm saying stupid questions, stupid doubt, that's natural. That is naturally happening. It's no one's fault, and that is how you see that your practice is developing. That is how you know that you have cleared your way, because once in a while it gives some kick to you and check whether you are really firmly on the path. So when those things happen, it is very important for you to have a discussion. So that is what we do here. We discuss whatever questions that you will have in relation to practice, and the things happen while practicing, and get those things clear, right? So therefore, the perplexities that may arise will gradually lose their strength. Not that they completely go away, they lose their strength. And when they lose their strength, you are more and more established on the path. So now we have come to today's topic, which is what is and what is not the path, purity of what is and what is not the path. So in other words, the knowledge that you may have or that you can possess, that this is the path and this is not the path, is the purity of purity of what is and what is not the path. So here mainly these things are your changes in your attitude, changes in the way you think, and they are basically your judgments. So when you come to this stage, there are three basic judgments that play a lead role and in your practice. The three basic judgments are, which are given in Visuddhimagga, or Part of Purification, and it's a huge book. In that book, the first one they say Jnata Parinya. Don't try to pronounce it. Jnata Parinya means full understanding as the known, or full understanding of the known. And the next one is the Tirana Parinya, which you call full understanding as investigation. And the next one is Pahana Parinya, which is full understanding as the abandoning. So if you take the first one, Jnata Parinya means full understanding as the known, means you start understanding and observing and knowing the general characteristics of the object. And what is your object? It may be walking, it may be breath, or it may be feeling, it may be perceptions, or anything, or it may be elements even. It may be the nature of the earth nature in your body, or it may be the water nature in your body. It may be the air nature in your body. It may be the heat element in your body. So of those things, you understand the general characteristics. Means you know when you place the leg on the floor, and this is how I am placing it, and this is what I feel when I lift, and this is how I am lifting, and this is how the feeling that I had is changing when you lift. So like that, you try to understand the general characteristics. Similarly, while sitting, you understand when you're inhaling, if your attention is at the nostril, your the air that is going in is cooler, and when it comes out, it is a bit warmer. Or if you're observing the tummy, you may see when you are inhaling, the tummy is inflating, whereas in exhalation, it drops down. So like that, you start seeing the general characteristics of the aggregates and the elements. When I say aggregates, it is form, feeling, etc. And when you keep on observing these general characteristics of the object, of the aggregate and elements, it gives you, it shows you the nature of impermanence. It shows you the nature of suffering. It shows you the nature of non-self. So that is called full understanding as investigation. So if I may give you an example, when you do your walking, it comes to a point when you keep on observing your right foot and left foot. And after some time, you see, although you keep on observing these things become complementary to each other. When one leg is being lifted, the other leg is being placed. When one leg is being moved, the other leg is firmly on the ground. So like that, you see, it is not just one thing that you can see, the one thing that you can observe. You see that there is a process involved in both the legs. And after some time, you see, there is no need for you to make any effort to walk. The walking is happening. Only thing you are doing is just keep on observing. So what it shows generally is that there is no person doing these things, and these things are happening by itself. And also it shows the impermanence character, because although we see one leg is being placed and that it is permanent, it is not so. As soon as it is placed, the other one it has started lifting. So there is no just one permanent thing happening at a given point in time. When you come to the observation or the awareness of here, now, I am. So it goes, you can understand it much better when you observe your breath. Initially, you will have the gross breath. After some time, it subsides and gross becomes subtler. And when you keep on observing, it becomes even subtler. And then it comes to a state, you are observing 100%. Breath is barely observable. And then it comes to a point, you simply keep observing, there is nothing to observe. You simply keep observing on it. And there are plenty of examples that can bring out to show the impermanence nature of the things, of aggregates and elements that we are observing, and not only that, anything around us. In this manner, you start seeing these qualities of the object, and that is called Tirana Parinya, or full understanding as investigation. Here you don't just observe something. This now it has become an investigation, because you just started with one leg or just started with one breath. Now it has gone to a cycle. It has gone to a pattern. It is happening in a way that you had not seen before, and you let it happen, and you just investigate. You just observe, and there, seeing these characteristics, or the basic characteristics of those things, impermanence, suffering, and non-self, is Tirana Parinya, or the full understanding of understanding as investigation. And when it comes to Pahana Parinya, it goes even further. More you see impermanence, more you see suffering, more you see the characteristics of non-self, you abandon gradually the perceptions of permanence. You abandon gradually the perception of pleasure. You abandon gradually the perception of self. Therefore, you will, the perception of delight in things, perception of greed in things, perception of origination only there, because that is what we do when we are living. We celebrate birthday parties and we cry in funerals. And that is because we have a perception only of origination, and none of, there is no perception about the passing of it. And similarly, the perception of grasping also will gradually fade away, will get challenged, will get shaken. And that is called Pahana Parinya. In other words, full understanding as abandoning. So in deciding what is and what is not the path, the most important thing is full understanding as investigation. Tirana Parinya is very important, because here, in this, your way of thinking, your judgment in purifying what is and what is not the path is paramount, right? So what happens is, when your practice is developing well, when you come to the stage of seeing the basic characteristics of impermanence, etc., you will have what you call some imperfections in the practice, and those imperfections are so attractive. That's the funny part. The imperfections that you may have are coming as a blessing to you, and you may get hooked up on those things. So there should have a way, there should have a judgment to be away from these 10 imperfections. And those imperfections are the first one. In Pali, we call them Obasa Jnana Priti Sukha Passaddi, Adimokka Paggahita Virya, Upattita Virya, Upeksha, and the Nikanti. And in English, first one is illumination, and then the knowledge, rapturous happiness, tranquility, bliss, resolution into the mundane qualities, excessive exertion, rigid mindfulness or assurance, equanimity, and magnetic attachment. So those are the 10 imperfections. So if I may explain them slightly, when you get your attention to the object, maybe some of you have observed, you start seeing lights, you start seeing different colors, you start seeing some brightness in your head or brightness happening. And that is obhasa, that is illumination. And they're so attractive. And you see, oh, I have become an arahant now. Or you may get a lot of knowledge about the practice, about what you have learned in the Dhamma. And people come and say, oh, I have seen impermanence, I have seen suffering, I have seen non-self. All that is nonsense. But those things come as if that you have really achieved them. And when those things happen, this Tirana Parinya or the full understanding as investigation is very important, not to get hooked onto them. And that is where your attitude change is important. And the next one is rapturous happiness. There is no need to say. When you come out of the sense pleasure, when you come out of the hindrances, your mind is so perfectly at ease. So it gives huge happiness that you have never experienced before. And therefore you may get hooked onto that as well. And similarly, the tranquility, which means when the rapturous happiness fade away, both your physical and mental situation becomes even happier and even tranquil. And that tranquility is much more attractive than the rapture. And when that matures, it will give you bliss. You will go beyond, because of the physical and mental tranquility. You will be completely blissful and be out of yourself as well, as you may feel. And you will be completely in floating and in a very cool bath you may feel. So when those things happen, they are so attractive, and you may think that this is where the final liberation is, and all that, all sorts of things. And the maturity of that will give into the resolution into the mundane qualities. These mundane qualities that you experience, and that's it. I have done. So there is nothing more to do. I don't want a teacher anymore. I don't want to talk to any Dhamma session. I just come and establish in this, that's all. And you will give in to these mundane qualities, and you will not practice any further after that. You will not provide any reports after that. And I have met people like that. And because they are so attractive, and they stay there. And of course they are attractive because they have come a long way, not only from the sensual world, not only from hindrances. They have even gone beyond form, and some people have gone even beyond feelings, and they have gone to immaterial states, and it is definitely attractive, and such wonderful blissful mundane qualities. And also some people may have excessive assertion, and there is no morning, there is no evening, there is no afternoon, there is no work, there is no holidays. Every time they keep on trying, and they feel, and having such an attitude, having such practice is because they have now really attained. And there are people, when they practice, they slice the breath into the tiniest particle and try to see. Not that it naturally happens, it naturally happens as well. Some people try to see, some people try to see the beginning, some people try to see the middle, some people try to see the end, instead of naturally, instead of allowing them to naturally come. So when that unnecessary exertion, effort is there, then they think that is also an achievement. So similarly, the rigid mindfulness, they think mindfulness should be there all the time, 24/7. And if they try to do that, and if they are able to do it, they think, okay, right, now I'm complete and there is no more to do. And similarly, equanimity. If you become equanimous based on your qualities and you think, oh, this is the last place and there is no need to practice. And magnetic attachment means when you develop your mind to such an extent to go beyond form, go beyond subtle material states, go beyond immaterial state and come to very fine immaterial state, it is so attractive and it's like a magnet. And you get just sit and get to that state and just keep sitting. That's all, and you are an arahant, if not Buddha. And these are achievements from the practice, but they themselves is the hindrance to the practice. That is why they are identified as places that you may be clinging on to. Therefore, the Blessed One says they should have escaped from these 10 imperfections, and when they appear, they should appear. You simply be aware of them and just label them. It is illumination. Just label them. It's thought. Just label them that it is rapture. Just label them that it is tranquility. Just label them that it is bliss. Just label them. It's mundane resolution. Just label them. It is excessive effort. Just label them. Rigid mindfulness. Just label them. Equanimity. Just label them. Magnetic attachment. Then you don't either hate them or you don't try to get attracted to them. You simply accept what is there. So that's the simple teaching of the Buddha. And in that manner, when you have this judgment, of course, initially you may be there for some time, but when you have this judgment, that is Tirana Parinna. That is the full understanding of the investigation. You have achieved the point, and even that point, you don't take as the final goal, and you directly understand your path is maintaining awareness of these things are happening. It is not rigid mindfulness. It is, you don't try to control your mind, you don't try to hold it, but you allow these things to happen, just become aware of them. So, in other words, when there is a story, I'm not quite sure whether I have time to say that, but anyway, there's a story that a farmer, or not a farmer, tree chopper, has lost his axe. It is fallen into the river when he was cutting trees, and then he has been crying on the shore. A divine being appeared and asked why. He said, this is what happened, and my old axe has fallen into the river. And then the divine being dived in and brought a golden axe. And then when it was given to this man, he said, this is not my one is just iron old one. And this is too glittering and this is not mine. And then he dived in again and brought silver one. And he said, no, mine is not this bright. It is just iron one, and that is what I want. I can't cut trees with this thing. And then he dived and brought his axe and gave him. And then he accepted that. So like that, we also may have golden ones. We may have silver ones. But what we do is, we forget our old mindfulness. We forget our old act. We grab onto the glittering one, the bright one, the illuminated one. So we always should not forget mindfulness to the fore. That is our old iron axe. And when that happens, that divine being has given all the three axes to him and gone. That story goes on. I'm not going to tell the rest of it. But this way, if you stick to the basics, then the rest will follow. So that is the point behind it. When you stick onto your old acts, and when you become honest, the gold and the silver will follow. There is no need for you to cry for those things, ask for them. So the yogi will be mindful irrespective of how appealing the experience would be. The mindfulness will be appreciated. Mindfulness will not be forgotten. Thus, mindfulness, which was not there in the ascetics before Buddha, and will lead the way. So that is how what is the path and what is not the path will be decided. Before Buddha, when these attractive things appears, they identify themselves with it, and they would get hooked onto golden and silver pit. And that is very well explained in Brahmanet discourse, how people get caught up in such wonderful experiences. Blessed One broke all that shackles, and the only weapon he used was mindfulness to the fore. Simple observation, simple acceptance, unwavering mindfulness. So we are lucky to have these discourses which shows the path so clearly. It precisely provides the details of conversations of these events, and hence there is no mystic here. This is something that has happened in a particular place by two human beings who have practiced and lived, and they are giving a very clear path. And when we practice, we can see ours also to some extent. We can relate to these things. So we are so lucky, and there is nothing that you will have to wait for after the death. If you do it now, you observe it now, you experience it now, and that gives us such an assurance that there is a way to be happy, that there is a way to go to the ultimate freedom from suffering. So may you all be able to reach that goal in this very life. With that, I will be concluding my talk. Thank you. All right. So can open up the session for questions if there is any.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, unless okay.
You can go, Tanuka.
I'm sorry. Okay, thank you. I just have a question regarding when you go on the path, I know how there can be different branches of like different paths that you can fall into, kind of thing. And I was just wondering if someone could be on a path that that kind of follows chaos, like a chaotic environment. So obviously there's suffering involved, but like because yeah, like in my practice I have like there's been moments where like I would want to do something kind of like chaotic. There'll be something like, you know, simple as, you know, posting something on Facebook, or but it could be like controversial kind of thing, like most people won't agree, but like I would get like a huge satisfaction out of it. So yeah, and on top of that, like kind of got into a conflict with my dad last week or something.
Right.
Obviously there was like a bit of aggression involved, so that kind of like scares me. I ended up punching the door and stuff.
Right.
Obviously there was like good and bad to like to that situation. Sorry?
How is
Oh,
your
it's good now. It's good. There's a bit of that, but you know, I'm a lot calmer now.
Yeah. No, I mean you'll have to check your strength once in a while in that manner.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. No, I mean when we practice, this is a huge misconception that we have in the society, and people assume that if someone is practicing, he should be so pure, so clear, he should be an arahant. But this is a process of getting our defilements out, and this is Ayurvedic medication. So in Ayurvedic medication, what happens is when you take medication, the disease increases, it aggravates, and that is because it is going to the root cause of the problem and taking the root cause out. Whereas in Western medication, they don't do that. They just simply, when they don't treat the root cause, they just treat the pain. It becomes just a painkiller, and the root cause is still there. So the main defilements we have are lust, number one. Number two is the aggression or the hatred, right? So when you initially get control, some sort of management of the greed and hatred to some extent, at the superficial level, at the basic level, at the main level, then there will have another layer of greed, another layer of hatred, another layer of lust below that. And that will come to the surface. And when that comes to the surface, you yourself can't understand that I have been practicing for such a long time. Now my mind is filled with so much of lustful things. My mind is filled with murderous thoughts. My mind is filled with so much of bad things. What the heck is going on? You may think to yourself.
Yeah.
So, being a person of your age, this is the prime age where your biochemical actions are completely different. Your usual biochemical action are not for meditation. Your biochemical system wants to go and hang around with girls and have fun and have all these jiggy-biggy things, if there is a word like that. But instead, you are doing the other thing. So, and what happens is when you post them in the Facebook, what is in the mind, you are putting it to the next layer of words, right? And the best things, when those things are coming up, and definitely what you are writing is something in your mind, right? So when the outside people see that, they don't care that you are meditating. I mean, even if they know that you are meditating, they will start judging you. They don't understand that this is part of purity, right? So therefore, and the job you have got to do is, you will have to observe them. You will have to label them instead of posting them. You will have to label it within yourself. When those thoughts are coming, just observe them as lustful thoughts, or angry thoughts, whatever. And at the same time, have the connection between thoughts as well as the physical manifestation. All those thoughts may be physically manifested as, you can observe those as well. You can observe the link, so that anything that comes up in the mind, when it is physically manifested, you don't either get afraid or start suspecting or trying to eliminate one or the other. Instead, you become neutral. Instead, you non-reactively observing. Then their strength fades away gradually. It will not happen overnight, but you can be mindful of them as well, be aware of them as well. And mainly they are happening when you are not practicing. When you are not practicing, those things are coming up. And then you will have to make use of mindfulness in those instances, and just start labeling them. Just keep observing them. And it is when it is very aggressive, rather than observing, you can label them. Then you get bit of energy you use bit of energy to be mindful. That is the meaning of labeling, using energy
Yeah.
to be mindful. So when you label them, it will come under control, or maybe it will aggravate as well. If it aggravates, just aggravate your labeling as well, for both physical and mental side. And definitely with mindfulness, none of these things will stand a chance. That is assurance of the Buddha. Don't take it to the other layer of putting it into words and posting. Then you are establishing the defilement in the mind. So to come to this level, to observe the defilement in the mind, is a great way, is a great path. You have done well. Yeah, but you may cross the line because of your age, right? So don't worry what others think.
I think there was this. That was the doubt I had, like, because I was always constantly thinking, oh, what might this person think about what I'm posting, and I was always trying to be curious about it, kind of thing. But like I'm past that stage now.
Yeah. So it's don't post and try to observe your thoughts. I know by posting you release it. But it establishes the defilement in the mind.
That's true.
It is easier to post rather than observing the mind. Observing the mind is difficult because it's so fast, and it overwhelms you. So might as well you just post something and then finish it off. You may fail, but this is the test now for you. This is the test now, because you have come to this point, and I know your practice than you know. So you will have to take these things seriously, and observe them. And even in aggression, I'll tell you some examples I had. I thought, I have been a meditation teacher and all that. And after completing one meditation session for our friends some years ago, and because of just simple one question, I was so furious, and I screamed from top of my voice, and then I thought my head will blow out. It was so loud, and everyone was shocked. And the kids were playing upstairs. They start running down, and the women were talking in one place. They all came, and it was pin drop silence after that. So that thing, those things happen just to show, that we have got a bit more work to do. We have got to be more mindful than what we are at the moment. So it's a test. It's a test. So therefore, you will have to now, your life should be governed by mindfulness. It may be difficult at your age because you have a different biochemical process, and it is more challenging for you. Right. So, but you can do it. You have that skill.
Thank you.
All right. Thank
you.
Nilanda Mahatya.
Okay, Bhante. And this is a rather statement, not question, but today's Dhamma talk is really good. Like the biggest thing nowadays is too bored. Like, it's like doing the same thing, same meditation, no taste of life, and trying to do things like, birthday parties, and even thinking like comparing to you, in your lay life you had done everything to kids, and I need to make it more engaged, and it kind of not bad and to celebrate and engage, but I in the same time I know that little cravings, you have fun, and it's all these things, and even before you're doing it, thinking it decision, or like what you clearly mentioned today, choice is a very powerful thing, and I don't know how to avoid. Being aware is one thing, but it's really being away from this totally, or at least it's just trying to justify because you have to do it because of others, you have to make them happy, try to engage all these things, trying to do different type of business and trying to help Sri Lankan people, like doing like 10 different things, like, you know, it's like even I couldn't think of early days with the work, but all of a sudden a completely different character last couple of weeks,
Yeah.
probably. I don't know what's going on. But anyway,
No.
I'm upset.
Yeah, no, I mean, if the practice is going well, if the practice is picking up, you will have a lot of other things coming your way. So there you have a challenge to pick what is supportive for the practice and what is not supportive for the practice. Definitely getting involved in the social work, not going to help at all. We should learn at some point to say enough, to say I'm sorry. And that way you will have to now, especially if things have become bored so far as the practice is concerned. Now you have come to a point where you will have to be mindful of the boredom, and you are filling that boredom with businesses, with social work, with more parties, more engagements, more musical shows and things like that. So that is the hatred towards the boredom. And achieving the boredom, coming to the boredom is a development of the practice. It is the progress of the practice. And this is where you will have to now, not that you really give up household life and come to a jungle. You will have to find your own seclusion where you live, which is arranging your timetable in such a way that it helps practice. Not getting involved in unnecessary sensual things and sensual development things. Unless you have, unless you are financially not established to fulfill basic things, then that's a different story. But I don't think so. It is not the case. It is a challenge that the Mara is giving. To go to boredom.
I'll try. Thank you.
Yeah. Everyone's around. Anything else, Chatu?
Oh yeah, one question. What was the question that person asked and you got angry? Do you remember?
Yeah. You remember, you know the person as well, but I don't want to tell the name of the person. Because that particular person is a person who has a character of wisdom. And I am a character with a lot of faith, right? So I exactly don't remember. It was about a discourse that we discussed where divine beings involved. He questioned divine beings, if I remember right. He just questioned divine beings, the existence of divine beings. Then I got mad because these are Buddha's word. This Buddha's word. Who are you to challenge Buddha's word? And then he said, how do you know that these are Buddha's word? Somebody else has written them. So there is no end. So I got even. So it's a simple thing, but that's how we can see our defilement. Unless we face these things, we don't know that we still have hatred, we still have greed. Now I thought that I am not emotional anymore. And when we did our April retreat in Sri Lanka, 5-day retreat, and Auntie had come to that, and there it was the day my first son passed away as well. So it was a coincidence. So I just told that to them, and I got so emotional. I got so emotional in front of 50 people. And I thought that I had overcome that stage, because I have discussed this so many times with people, but I was not emotional. But that particular day I was emotional. So it is a reminder that we still have a backlog behind us. It is not necessary to be hatred and greed all the time. There are a lot of other emotions that are hidden. So more you burn the tip of the iceberg, the upward pressure of the iceberg underwater is coming up. If it makes sense. What happens in an iceberg, when you burn the tip, when the tip evaporates, and upward pressure is bringing the next layer. And that is even stronger. So be ready, everybody. All right.
Thank you
All right.
so much.
Teruvan Saranai, Teruvan Saranai.
Thank you.
So if there are no more discussion points, we can go to the chanting. Can I request Chatu to transfer merit, chant the stanzas to transfer merit, please?